Afternoon. I think it's lunch, right?
Good morning, everybody.
So,
Thanks for joining us on Ladies Power Launch. So happy to have a very special guest here with us today. Annie Garland is joining us. She is one of our awesome authors on the Be the Beacon project. For those of you who had an opportunity to get the book, Be the Beacon, you've probably already read her amazing story. For those of you who were on the summit, the Ladies Power Launch Fall Summit, Grow Smarter, Be the Beacon, you also may have had an opportunity to either be live with her in her workshop or to watch her workshop on the replay. So I hope y'all got a chance to do that. And while we have her here, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Annie. After Summit, Annie and I met up at the Ladies Power Lunch after party, if you will. And she was so kind and so loving, as Annie always is. And she gave me this wonderful card, and it was just everything. I've been producing events now for 8 years. And now I'm officially an event producer because I'm on Annie Garland's radar. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself. So thank you, Annie, so much. Really appreciate that. Also
well,
want to
I, oh,
welcome before we get started, I just want to welcome Lorraine Sanborn, who's joining us here in the Zoom studio. And I want to give us all an opportunity to say hi. So let's go to a different view so we can see everybody. And Annie, will you share with everybody who you are and what you do? And once you're done, Lorraine, I'll also give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
thank you. Well, first of all, I am the proud co-author of Be the Beacon, and I work with women who want to have more confidence networking, whether it's virtually or in person, and be able to approach anyone in any situation to connect with people who are excited to meet you and want to work with you and want to pay you. So once you can get down those networking skills, you got it. I also create and produce a lot of events for women. My passion is, and through that, it's all about networking. I do those events so people can network, so I can network. So it was really, they were my key to networking. So that's what I do. What's the next question?
Next question. Well, I want to just say hi to all the people who are joining us over in Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group, and also want to say hi to Lorraine. Lorraine, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And will you just share with everybody who you are, what you do? Just want to give everybody an opportunity to know who's in the room here with us today.
So I've known Annie for a number of years, and I've gone to her events, and they are always amazing. My business is fabulous, begins at 50. And I had to do a meeting, a B&I meeting this morning, and what my commercial was, this is Gratitude Month, November. So I am grateful that 8 years ago, I found a way to live a healthy lifestyle with a company I've chosen to partner with, which is Isagenix. And really what I want to do is I want to share my gift of life with those that are looking for a healthy lifestyle.
Awesome. Thank you, Lorraine. And Susan, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you be open to introducing yourself, saying who you are and what you do?
Sure. I am retired, recently retired.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm starting a new business in energy healing, energy psychology. I do EFT tapping and TAT, which is also an acupressure technique. And I work with retirement age, older women who are looking in the mirror and saying, you know what, menopause is not helping me here. And they help them feel better and feel better when they look in the mirror and have their clothes fit better and all of that. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susan. So, Miss Annie, I'm gonna
Yes, ma'am.
invite you to share with us What was the reason that you decided you wanted to be a part of our Be the Beacon project? What was it about that spoke to you?
Well, I would have to say, Be the Beacon, when you think about being the beacon, it's obviously shining your light on others, which is the whole purpose of a beacon or a lamp or a lighthouse, shining the light to show others the way so they don't hit those craggy rocks and what's underneath that you don't see. And I know that's one of your quotes that you love. And I don't remember it exactly, but it's the guardrails, it's the guide, right? And so I have been just one of those guardrails for so many women in my life that come to me or come in my circle or sphere. And I just felt, I was thrilled to be invited, and I was thrilled to say yes. And I thought, you've done so many books already. And it was like, this one felt right. And I had a fun story to share, very different, I think, than most of the other authors in the book. And my whole perspective was this bracelet and this seed that came into my life when I was very young. And it was actually the whole foundation to my whole story. And that the bracelet, is this like where you give the whole, if they haven't read it yet, the spoiler alert or what? How does that work?
I think we should give a spoiler alert. I definitely want to have you share with us a little bit about your story. But Annie, there are a couple of people, I don't know what rock they've been hiding under, but they haven't gotten our book yet. So I still want them to have an opportunity to get out there and get our book. So can you tell us a little bit about your story, but don't spoil it. Give us an opportunity, a reason to get the punchline.
Well, I won't go to the very beginning, but there was an angel that, an unexpected angel that came into my life that gave me an opportunity to believe in faith. And it has to do with receiving a bracelet. Is that okay?
Yes.
To say that?
It is fine.
And the seed is a mustard seed. Mm-hmm. And when I got this bracelet, I was only 10 years old. And we were not wealthy people, but this angel came into my two older brothers. My one brother is 4 years older and the other one's 6 years older. And I was pretty much a latchkey kid because my mom and dad worked, and my brothers were supposed to be watching me, but you can imagine, a 4 year older or 6 year older than me, boys do not want to watch their little sister. So I was pretty much by myself. And I'm sure some of your audience can relate to that. But this family adopted my brothers, and I was sort of on the fringe. And I received this bracelet with this mustard seed, and I was just so taken back. And the moral of that whole gift, what it gave me, was a foundation of belief and faith, because the woman who gave it said, if you have this, if your belief is in a mustard seed, you will always have possibilities. And that was my foundation to my entire life. That was one of my keys. And I just felt I wanted to share that story when we talk about Be the Beacon. Is what is the beacon? For me, it's faith, having the strength of knowing in my heart that faith is so strong. And it doesn't necessarily have to be religious, but being what you believe in and where you're going and what you want to do in life, that nothing could stop you if you so strongly believe you should go there. And so that's what powered me through the beacon. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Did I give away
Annie.
too much?
I think you gave away just the right amount, because now
okay.
We're all wanting to know more, and we'll dive deeply into your story and get some more information about that. You mentioned earlier that the work that you do in the world is to support women who have a difficult time with networking. So can you share a little bit more about how you got into that field and how you are using that beacon to light the path for others?
That's a good question. Thank you, Davia. And I apologize to your audience. I have a little bit of laryngitis. So if I have to drink some water, bear with me. However, I've been in the corporate world. I started out right out of high school. I didn't get to go to college. And so I was working at the telephone company. And what is a telephone? It's a connector. And that's what I was doing at my very early age, connecting people. I was a long distance telephone operator. And if anyone's ever seen Laugh-In back in the 70s, that was me, Ernestina, with the headphones. Good gracious, good morning. How can I help you? And that was me. And I did that. And within 6 months, they promoted me to customer service. And I was pretty honored. And that's where I got my training in sales. So very soon after, I didn't stay with the telephone company very long because I had different aspirations. However, I went on the road in sales and I had a great opportunity in sales. So I've been in corporate forever and ever and ever until I wasn't. I met my children's father, and that's where I had to get off the road back then. If you were pregnant, you weren't allowed to travel on the road. So I had to be dismissed. So I gave up my car. I gave up my independence. And I had my beautiful daughter. And then I remember one day he came home from work and he saw me crying at the kitchen table and he goes, "Oh my God, who died?" And I said, "I did." I died. So I need to go do something other than be a mom, right? I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'm kind of going to get there. So I looked into becoming where my passion always has been is art and architecture. So I went to design school and I did that for many years, but went back because I always said if I couldn't make it in design, which I did, it's just that it didn't pay, I always could do sales. So I went back in sales, but in the design industry. So I've been in this corporate world forever and ever and ever. So people don't know, but I have like 5 decades. I started when I was born. So
Obviously.
in the corporate world. And it's everything has been about networking, connecting. And I also have another book, but I don't want to take away from the Beacon. And that's all about networking as well. So networking has really been my key of me. Everything's about connecting. And I also believe networking is an older term. It's a more corporate term. And I love what you call networking is collaborating and connecting. And that's really what I do. I connect. It's not so much networking, but I'm from the old school, even though I supposedly don't look that old. And Lorraine, you can relate to that, right? Right?
Awesome.
So, yeah. So networking has been just filtered through my life and it's been a mainstay. So have I answered your question?
Yes, and I think there's an opportunity for you to share a little bit more about some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to networking. Some of the things that when you're out and about in the highways and byways and the Zoom calls, what are some of the things that you've noticed that people could be doing more of or probably should be doing less of in order to make the right kinds of networking connections?
Well, I believe there's 3 reasons why most people don't like to network. That's number 1, they don't know how to approach someone. They don't know what to say when they do, and they don't follow up. So those are the 3 tenets of everything that I believe in networking. So approaching someone, you have to know who to approach when you're in a room. And I call that searching for gold. So when you're in a networking situation, you want to find somebody who's either sitting alone or standing alone, because guess what? They don't like to network either. And that's searching for gold. So you go over and you approach them, but how do you approach them, right? So you've found out who you target. Now what to say when you get there. And please don't say, "What do you do?" Because to me, that's like nails on a chalkboard. There's so many other things when you approach someone and you could read their name tag, but what you really want to do is start building rapport. And you do it through a smile in your eyes. I mean, We know that, right? Davia? You know, you
Yes,
smile.
absolutely.
And I usually say a great starter question, because we're usually at a networking meeting and there's usually a speaker. Obviously, it doesn't translate via virtual, but when you're at an in-person meeting, so you say, maybe you might start with, so what brought you here today? And that's the easiest and the best that you can lead in with, because we'll say, gosh, you know, or if they're struggling and looking at you like, you know, dazed and glazed, you could say, are you here for the speaker or the food? Right? Most people don't go to networking meetings for the food, but it's adding a little levity. And anybody who knows me about anything about me, I'm all about a little bit of humor. So yeah, so and then once you start engaging in conversation, and there's a whole series of questions, which by the way is an opt-in that I'm happy to share, that if you go to my website at the end, if you share that, I have a list of the 10 top questions you might want to ask when you approach someone. But then the third part is follow up. So you've met this delightful person, you've engaged with them, and hopefully you want to carry the conversation and it leads to that. But the most important thing is to reach back to them like almost immediately. And I say, as you get in your car, if you've exchanged cards, write down something special about that person that stood out, and then text them or email them immediately before you even pull out of the parking lot. So you've got one connection right then and there. And if you've met 2 to 3 people, which is what I usually say, you don't want to meet more than 2 or 3 people at a networking meeting. So you're going to contact those 2 or 3 people right before you leave the parking lot. You're done. You don't have to go home, throw the cards on a pile that's probably a mound on your desk already that you're never going to get to because you never can get to them. But if you follow my follow-up, it's easy peasy.
Awesome. So we are doing, even though a lot of things have opened up, a lot of things are still virtual. So we're still doing quite a bit of virtual networking. What advice do you have for us for networking in that virtual space?
Okay, well, first of all, show up. Do not be a blank. I don't know who's on your gallery right now because I can only see 4 of us here, but and who's listening. But if you're going to if you're doing a virtual call, show up. Otherwise, don't be on the call unless you put into the thing under where it says rename. Put in, sorry, I'm sick, you know, or come up with a reason. But why? I mean, for me, going on virtual, you're in a front row seat. You have every opportunity to be seen and be heard. Speak up. I mean, it's, you know, you've got this square, this little bit of real estate, and you own it. And what you want to do is not be sitting way back here. You want to have your face way up front. You want to be front and center. And you also want to dress right. I mean, how many times have I seen sweatshirts and t-shirts? And for God's sakes, hopefully people don't stand up if they're not dressed properly. I mean, I know there's been Saturday Night Live skits on that, right? So, but be present and have good lighting, have good audio. And one of my favorite tech things, because I know you're going to ask me that, is my Blue Yeti. You know, get a Blue Yeti. That's one of the least expensive, well, it's not inexpensive, but it's a great value for what you get. So have a great microphone, great lighting, be present. Those are a few tips I can give you on that.
Awesome. I really like your tip about being on the meeting and being present. There have been so many meetings where people attend and I'm sure they're there for networking, but their camera's off and they're not participating in the chat in any way. So yes, they were there, but I'm not sure how much or how many connections they've been able to make on a meeting like that because you really didn't feel their presence.
Right. And I usually find 2 or 3 people that stand out, like, you know, who appeal to me. And if you have an opportunity to speak, not, obviously you can't. Many times there's 10, 20 people, like even this call, you can't speak on it, but you can look through the gallery and see somebody, or if you know somebody, go chat with them and say, hey, it's so great to see you here. I haven't seen you in a long time. Let's connect afterwards. I mean, that's a warm lead right there. There's no cold calling. I mean, virtual has so many advantages, but I'm still an in-person, toe-to-toe, heart-to-heart hug. Not that we're doing too much hugging these days, but virtual has so many advantages. And there's some disadvantages. Just like you said, if people are hiding, don't even bother. It's not fair to the speaker. It's not fair to the other people. Unless you put in there, I'm eating, I'll be back in 5, whatever. Let people know why you're blank. Right?
Absolutely. I really, really appreciate you sharing that particular tip, because it's something that I do see quite a lot. Any other things that you've noticed that we could all be doing better when we are networking?
What can you do better? What is it, in person or virtual? We're still talking
Either.
virtual.
We have the expert here with us. We just want all the tips. That's what we were looking for here.
Well, I did brush on it a little bit. It is being, really pick 2 or 3 people. If it's an interactive event and you have a chance to hear somebody, you might say, wow, Lorraine, I really loved your answer. You chat with them right away. You grab them and say, I was really impressed by what you said, and I really would love to connect with you. I mean, again, you have such an advantage with virtual and just skimming. Many times I will go through and see who stands out, whether it's a guy or a gal. I mean, if she's dressed well and she's put together, I know her business is well and put together. And then I want to dig in, and then what I'll do is I'll immediately, while I'm online, I'll go into my network. I'll look them up on LinkedIn. I'll find out a little bit more about them. And then might even text them while I'm on the chat and say, hey, I understand you do such and such. I would be really interested in hearing more about that. I mean, this is such an opportunity. When you go to a networking meeting and there's 50 people there, you might meet with 1 or 2 or 3. But here you've got 50 people, and it's like picking the cherry out of the basket. So just find who appeals to you. I mean, it's such a game changer, such an advantage. Does that help?
Absolutely. You mentioned LinkedIn, and I think that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is, any technology, any tools, you mentioned your Blue Yeti, which is great. Anything that that could definitely support us as we aim to be better at networking, better at making those heartfelt connections?
Any tools for networking? Just, I don't think I have a really good answer for you on that one.
Well, you mentioned using LinkedIn, and I think
LinkedIn. Okay.
I think that's something that very many of our listeners don't use enough. You mentioned being able to connect with people on LinkedIn while you're on a call or even right after. That's really valuable. And a lot of people aren't utilizing their LinkedIn profiles as much as they could. Any advice as far as networking goes with LinkedIn?
Okay, well, first of all, go in and fill out your profile completely, and fill out all of your social media profiles and make sure that they're all in sync. Have a great banner. There's so many people who can design a banner for you if you're like really bad at it. There are just so many good graphics people. You can go to Fiverr and get a banner, but just don't keep up the banner that comes with LinkedIn. It just shows you're not up to date. So you want to check. You don't want to put anything into your profile that your grandmother wouldn't want to read, or you wouldn't want to say anything in Facebook or LinkedIn that your grandmother wouldn't want to read. Because if anybody's ever looking for working with somebody and they go and look at your profile and there's things there that are maybe you might be turning them off. So you really want to be apolitical sometimes. I don't want to start that right here, but you have to be very careful about what you say. And if you don't care, you'll draw the type of people that you're going to draw. Does that make
Interesting.
sense?
Absolutely. I want to say thank you to our friends who are joining us over in the Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group. I see Debbie, I see Lynn, a couple of other friends, but they're all making comments and saying, hey, goddess, love this so much. Hi, rock star. All sorts of really, really beautiful comments for you. Annie, we love you. So I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
give a little shout out to our friends who are watching in our Facebook group and to say thank you to them for joining us. Lorraine and Susan, did you have any questions at all for Annie before we close out today?
The only thing I would add that I'm using as a great networking tool is my digital business card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's especially when the last almost 2 years of being only on Zoom, we can't hand out a paper business card. So I've been sharing my digital business card, which is nothing more than just texting the word energy to 21,000 and you get my business card right onto your phone. So people that aren't in a position where they're handing out the card, I would suggest they look into a digital business card, and I'd be glad to share mine so they could see how it works.
I like that. And you know what? I don't do business cards anymore, to be honest. Let's save some trees. So that's a wonderful, wonderful idea. Any thoughts on that, Annie?
I actually like that. Another version of what is it? The business card, the virtual business card, is really honing what you do, who's your ideal audience. You really get that down to like a one sentence. And if anybody's interested in how that works, I'm again, I don't have that right with me, but it's like, who are you? Who's your ideal client? How do you serve them? And what problem do you solve? And that to me is another type of virtual business card, just getting that who you are, what you do, instead of saying, what do you do? I mean, that is very strong. So that's another flip to what Lorraine is saying. But I'd like to investigate a little bit more about what Lorraine's doing, because that's really cool. How about you,
Beautiful.
Susan?
Susan, any questions for Annie or any comments about what she's been sharing so far? You are muted though. There we go.
No, that's really good. I didn't think about looking people up on LinkedIn when I was in a call. So that's a really good thing to think about. So I come from, I was a medical examiner. So my world was, police and lawyers and, that sort of thing. And my LinkedIn is really little, but I can always look up other people. So I'm just trying to, get so that I can do this in a not business way. So that's, this is good.
Susan, I would recommend that you do look into your LinkedIn. We've got some people, I'm sure, through LPL that can help you with LinkedIn, and even eWomen Network. There's some people that do LinkedIn. They're masters with that.
I think we do have in our archives some really good interviews that we've had with, I think once we even had an executive from LinkedIn who joined us on the show to share about how to use LinkedIn better for small business. So that might be one that you can go back and look at. And you can always see all of our interviews either on our podcast or on our YouTube channel, youtube.ladiespowerlunch.com, for anybody who wants to check those out. Annie, before you go, would you be kind enough to share with us any upcoming events or any ways that we can connect with you and do more with you?
Well, I have my, oh my gosh, my epic, it's coming up in January, my Girls Goals at the Grizz. It's, how about numerology? It's January 22 is the date. It's 2022 is the year, and it's my 20th anniversary with Girls Goals at the Grizz. So it will be, I've got big plans. I've got a great speaker who nobody knows her, and she is dynamic. The theme of it is emerging. And not only will we be emerging, as we all are, where we are, coming out of where we've been, but I know I personally will be emerging. So I'll be making some announcements. And I have my book that's at the editor. I'm so honored to be in your book, but then my book that I feel like I've been birthing an elephant here. It's actually going to be launching in January. So I'm happy about that. And hopefully I'll be having some books available at the event. So
How can
it's,
people
there's
connect
that.
with you, Annie?
They can connect with me. They can go on my website, which is ANNE Garland Enterprises with an S.com. There's that. Or if they want to go in and sign up for the event, it's events by BYANNE.com. So there's that. And yeah, that's what's coming up for me. I'm very excited about 2022.
Beautiful. I think we should all be excited about 2022. And I love the theme of your upcoming event, Emerging. Very, very poignant and also just timely for where we all are right now. Wonderful. I'm going to invite you to hop on over to the Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group and just drop all this information in the chat, and we'll be sure to include it in the show notes for today's show. Thank you, Lorraine and Susan, for joining us over here. Thank you, everybody over on our Facebook group, for watching along with us. And Annie, dear Annie, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being our special guest today. We look forward to seeing all of you back on our next show. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.